What's up, guys? Got another who would win style character versus fiction video for you. This time we're going to be going over, and just to clarify, not base Thor, but Immortal Thor. So this is Thor with the All Power, which is kind of like a fusion between the Odin Force and the Thor Force, and scaling him based on some of his feats in Immortal Thor, which is an ongoing series. So just to give you guys just a quick idea as to around what I scale Thor, because I think a lot of people are probably maybe not super familiar with Immortal Thor as a character because he's kind of new, right? In Immortal Thor, maybe Thor's most impressive feat was being able to banish God of Stories Loki. And so this isn't impressive for a few reasons. Obviously, God of Stories Loki is going to be one of the most powerful characters we have in Marvel currently. They essentially control like the power of writing as an entity within the comic book, which is a little weird, but essentially Thor is confidently able to banish him from Asgard or wherever he was in this panel. I'm not sure. I exactly remember. But the point is, he's able to, in some sense, overpower him here. So he's probably relative to God of Stories Loki. And of course, even on some of the lower end feats of like a much more nerfed base Thor, we have him knocking over Arishem, who's one of the named Celestials. And with his all power and Thor force, he should scale directly and definitely above Odin, the likes of whom could contend with Seth, the Egyptian god, in a fight that shook all of the multiverse. And that's far from the only multiversal feat we have for Thor. Even when he was a baby, we had his birth shaking the multiverse. Shaking Yggdrasil, and Yggdrasil scales to the multiverse in Marvel lore because it's a tree of all reality, including the many different multiverses, or the many different universes that exist in Marvel continuity. And of course, we have many feats of Thor scaling to the likes of the Yggdrasil, even in base form, like when he fought against Mythos, which was Modok, but having absorbed the power of the Divine Tree. So he very clearly is able to scale to, I would say, even easily complex multiversal. And in my opinion, I would scale him to like low to mid outerversal. He's pretty much as strong as characters get. Okay. So that being said, we got the list here. About 133. I added a few more characters from last time. I think the main additions from the last time I did one of these videos are going to be Popeye and Gore. I think aside from that, it should be about the same. And let's just get started. So Adam Warlock placement might depend on exactly which, like what we're giving Adam Warlock access to. Giving him the Soul Stone is pretty standard. Even with the Soul Stone, the most he is just hard to kill. He's not really that strong, at least on this, on the scale of Thor and Odin Force. He's not strong. He's obviously strong, on like a street level basis. I mean, to be fair, like low multiversal. But so for that, I would put it mid diff. And if he has the Infinity Gauntlet, like sure, I guess he could put up more of a fight, but Thor is probably still smoking him. I might even put it mid diff, but I think high diff is probably fair. Aizen's an interesting character. We always get to him very early on because of the way the alphabet works. With Aizen, his only claim to fame really is going to be his Kyoka Suigetsu, which is his perfect hypnosis, which he can put any opponent under as long as they like observe it. And you know how these fights go. Not very hard to imagine that he could get it off, but even if he did, Thor has the Thor Force, which is a more powerful version of the Odin Force, and Odin Force gives you like knowledge and perception of like all of the realms to a certain degree and like cosmic awareness. So I would imagine that something there would be, like it's like a sense. How would you explain it? It's not like a sense that Eisen has, I guess, experience manipulating, right? It's not like the five senses he controls. So I do think that that would probably be a way that Thor would just be able to completely nullify Eisen's ability. And then in terms of like raw stats, obviously Thor is like fully checking Eisen. I would say no diff, but maybe mid diff just because of Kyoka. So he gets maybe there's like some smaller round of tricky that can go there, but like, you know, for the most part, Thor is smoking Eisen, no contest. Akuma's getting no diff, just doesn't get up there. Alien X, again, I'm always happy if somebody who's more knowledgeable of Alien X wants to, have like a little debate about it, because I think that I'm very willing to have my mind change. But so far from what I've seen of Alien X, I would say I'd put him losing high diff. I don't even know if I would really scale him directly above the Infinity Gauntlet. Maybe I would, but I don't think he's touching Odin Force Thor. All Might is getting no diffed. Amazo is all about adaptation. And the thing about like the DCAU Amazo is I don't think we've really seen him interact with magic on the scale that we need to really like verify his ability to adapt. But you know, he has not shown the ability to adapt to anything nearly on the level of all power Thor. So we're not going to be able to place him high. Anos, another character where I do need to refresh a little bit on his scaling, but I think generally he's like omnipotent in his verse, which is, you know, it's hard to really say, right? Like maybe if you're actual omnipotent, we could put him in the boundless category, but I think in terms of showings and feats, he's not quite boundless, at least yet. I would probably have him losing high diff as well, just until we get. Or the only thing that could really place him higher is if we get like some more knowledge of the cosmology of Misfit of Demon Academy, I think is the anime name. Anti-Monitor, even pre-Crisis, or Crisis on Infinite Earths, Anti-Monitor is getting like kind of goober stomped. And like I put him high diff because there's not a lot of characters who are going to be. It's because, you know, like these are going to be like the complex multiversal ranges of power, and then for the lower tiers, I think it's appropriate because I think a complex multiversal character could probably give Thor a little bit of trouble, but ultimately he would pretty much beat them pretty soundly. Same logic for Anti-Spiral. Apocalypse is getting absolutely blown up. There's no contest. Same with Aquaman. Arceus depends on how you view creation within Pokemon. I always say that, you know, if the verse doesn't really scale that high, then it's a little difficult, right? And I don't know, with Arceus, it's, I don't know, really complicated to really get into. Depends on a few things, like is he the god of Pokemon, the god of Earth, the god of all creation? In the case of all creation, maybe he's higher with things like the distortion world, maybe upscaling the cosmology. But as it stands, I could see, like the way I think about it is I could see Thor making the Pokemon universe like pretty easily with the wave of his hand with the current power that he has. So, you know, still not putting Arceus above. And I'd say this is the most contentious one, right? Because Azathoth, I guess by all means, like we don't really have like a good way to scale his cosmology. But the fact that he's like dwarfing other characters in the Cthulhu mythos who are in their own right, like almost like omnipotent, at least like perceptually, and like they're unfathomably powerful. I do feel pretty confident putting Azathoth as like one of the boundless characters, right? So I'm okay putting him high, and I'm not even entirely sure. Well, I guess boundless would still be no diffing like Thor. Like I would put the one above all up here as well. So I think Azathoth being up here is also fair. Hellbat Batsuit's getting crushed. Beerus is getting crushed. I think I can even put him in the no diff. It's a complete slaughter. Beyonder. So I actually do think this is gonna depend on if it's pre-retcon Beyonder or post-retcon Beyonder. Pre-retcon, he's basically the one above all, right? Pretty much confirmed. Post-retcon, I guess the way I think about it is, so the Beyonder is like certainly outer-versal, but is he outer-versal on the same level as Thor? The Beyonders in general are pretty weird. I think for the most part we're just gonna stick to pre-retcon Beyonder because that's the character that people like to scale with the most. Bill Cipher is an interesting character. I'm not really putting him higher than the likes of Arceus. I would actually even put him a tier lower than Arceus. I guess he's got like that 5D stuff going for him, but like I think that's always going to be like significantly less impressive than, you know, what the characters above him have really been able to do. Especially like given the nature of how he lost, it just feels like he's not all that goated. We'll put him at a mid diff. Black Adam is getting destroyed. Black Bolt, no contest. Blue Marvel, crazy enough. Captain America. See, it's so weird putting the likes of Captain Marvel and Captain America in the same tier in anything, but that's just how like ridiculously strong this version of Thor is. Am I glazing too hard? Maybe I would bump Captain Marvel up a tier. Cause I'm trying to think. I think Odin Force Thor fought against Null, and it wasn't like a complete blowout. Is All Force Thor really, or All Power Thor really that much stronger than Odin? Probably not. But he does have like, He's like debatably even like stronger than God of Stories Loki, who should really be blowing out Captain Marvel. So or sorry, Blue Marvel. I'm gonna leave it at mid diff. Maybe we'll reassess it later. Captain Atom is getting destroyed. This is Captain Marvel getting destroyed. Cell is definitely getting no diffed. Chad no diffed. Cyborg Superman no diffed. Daredevil. Oh, Dark Phoenix. Okay. Now this is a tough one. Oh man, this one's so hard. So with Thor, we have like some really impressive feats, like him using a God Blast with even like a weaker form of the Odin Force to blow back the Black Winter. And honestly, I would say the Black Winter feels narratively very like similar to the Phoenix Force in terms of like the threat that it represented. I don't know if I would put Dark Phoenix above this version of Thor. Even weaker versions of Thor, with the help of Jane Foster, were capable of like blowing back against the Phoenix Force. Albeit, I don't think Jean Grey was the host. So this one, I think, can probably come down to, I mean, how you feel about it. I might actually be putting Dark Phoenix a little lower than Thor. That's a little surprising. Um, oh man, Darkest Night. I would say Darkest Night can't be higher than Phoenix Force. So maybe he's also losing. Like I don't mean to be like overglazing Thor. I've never really been a huge Thor fan, but I think like his feats in the new run have to be respected to like a large degree. So if you guys haven't, I would really recommend picking up Immortal Thor. I'm curious how other people feel about it. It does feel a little inconsistent because like on one hand, there's that scene where I guess like minor spoiler alert, Storm hits him with an attack that like simulates the pressure of Jupiter or something, and then he's like getting like mildly hurt by it, and he just stands up and shrugs it off after. If we're gonna take stuff like that and like, but the point is, I think normally when we do this kind of scaling, we do take the higher end feats, and he even said like when he was talking to her, like, you know, I'm as strong as I need to be, so I don't think we should take his like low end feats as like a big deal because he's not like when he was fighting Storm, he wasn't like, you know, actively trying to win or anything. Like he didn't really care. He wasn't even like in a threat of being like actually hurt. So, you know, I do think that we can go with the higher end of scaling. That being said, Darkest Night, I'm probably putting also losing high diff. Like the way I see it is like I would put Darkest Night like low outer versal, and I would put Thor like comfortably outer versal, if that makes sense. Same with even like True Form Darkseid. I think that we still have yet to see a lot about True Form Darkseid to really make much of an opinion. At the moment, he just scales like around Spectre and Phantom Stranger, who are definitely like going to be like around pre-crisis anti-monitor. Darth Sidious, Darth Vader, Deku, you guys are all getting clapped. Doomsday, no. Dormammu. Now I'm always this one. I leave to the. I leave to a future version of me that's like a little more booked up on Dormammu and the magic that he possesses is like pretty powerful and pretty weird. I don't even know if it's like fair to put him against Thor and like with if Dormammu's outside his domain. Like I'm not really sure, but I do think Thor is probably winning that. Doctor Doom. We're gonna talk about God Emperor Doom later. Doctor Fate is no diff. Even like the higher incarnation of Fate is probably getting mid diff, but I think this is just base Fate. Doctor Manhattan. Oh, okay. Let me think. The only thing about Thor is that he's such like a meta character in like the way he can scale to God of Stories Loki, and the way that he's like even like debatably stronger than his Rune King form, who literally like also kind of like controls the narrative. But I can't imagine. I can't imagine Dr. Manhattan is actually all that much stronger than Darkest Night, so I'm going to put him next to him. That's going to be a contentious one for sure. I will take a minute to just say, you know, if you guys disagree with any of these takes, please, in the comments, tell me how dumb I am. I'm not being like facetious. I do fully welcome it. I'm very happy to have my mind changed. And if you're interested, you know, join the Discord in the link. Come debate me or talk with me up in the Discord server. Looking to grow it. I feel like it could be, a fun time. Just get in there, debate casually. You could be friendly. You guys could be mean if you want to. I'm okay with that too. I got some thick skin, so I'll take the insults. But yeah, if you're interested, want to tell me why you think Dr. Manhattan smokes Thor, and I'm smoking because I think otherwise, then, I welcome it. Please. Doctor Strange, kind of similar logic as Dormammu, except, I think, like, a base Strange is not Dormammu level for sure. Drax, Drax. My glorious king, Escanor, getting no dift. Same with all these guys. And, okay, so we're going to call this Wally West Flash, even though I'm pretty sure this is a picture of Barry Allen. And say... Actually, do I have Wally West Flash on here? I might. Let's just check real quick. Oh, I don't see him. We could always move Flash later anyway. I guess, like, there's a whole, like, I can steal your kinetic energy thing, but against a character that literally controls reality, like, what does that really even mean? And for a character like Thor, like, speed is also, like, a concept, right? I think after a certain point, we can say, like, sure, the Flash is obviously faster, but, like, what does that even mean to a character who's, like, omnipresent or just has, like, complete sensory awareness of the whole universe, So, we can even call that high diff just because the speed is kind of ridiculous, right? But Thor is still winning. Franklin Richards getting bodied. Not bodied. I'm sorry. Please don't hate me for that. But he's also getting high diff, I think. This one's also pretty debatable. But I do think, like, narrative, like, tomfoolery is going to scale above science tomfoolery any day of the week. Frieza's getting clapped. Galactus. Galactus really, like, jumps around from time to time. People are going to be so upset at me for keeping Galactus and, like, Eisen in the same tier. Ay. Gambit, Cosmic Garo, God Emperor Doom. I addressed this in my Superboy Prime video. I think God Emperor Doom is, as cool as he is, maybe one of the most overrated characters in terms of fighting potential. I'm not even sure I would put him above Darkest Knight. He's probably above Darkest Knight, maybe Franklin Richards. I don't know about Dr. Manhattan and Phoenix Force, but he's definitely, in my opinion, not touching Thor. Again, I do elaborate on this more in that Superboy Prime versus God Emperor Doom video. But basically, I think, God Emperor Doom is, like, slightly misunderstood. I don't think he has the full powers of the Beyonder. He has, like, the amount of Beyonder power that, Beyonders, I guess plural, power that Molecule Man ascribes to him. And then, like, in terms of feat, we even see God Emperor Doom get injured by the Infinity Gauntlet, which, as crazy as it sounds, in my opinion, is a pretty big anti-feat for him, especially considering we don't really have any durability feats for him aside from that, because it was, like, a short run that he was God Emperor Doom for him. So, I do think I'm putting Thor winning pretty comfortably, but maybe I can call it high diff just because of the level of character that God Emperor Doom is. Ghost Rider, even, like, a penance there is not doing anything to Thor. These Fate Stay Night characters, I probably have to remove them sometime soon. I really don't know how they work. People always say that, they're like 8D, they're so strong, like big brain stuff. I don't get it. I'll just leave them mid-diff. Godzilla, even the strongest incarnation of Godzilla isn't really doing much. I'd probably put him a tier above. Gojo, Infinity means nothing against a character with reality manipulation. Sorry. Goku's getting clapped, like absolutely destroyed. Any of you guys, like, huge Goku fans in the audience, please, come debate me on this, because this one I stand by. I think even base Thor just, like, smokes UI Goku, and I'm very happy to discuss it. Even like Master Ultra Instinct as well, like, not just UI Goku, to be clear. Giorno, again, like, if you have reality manipulation powers, the whole gimmick of, like, the reset to 0 doesn't really mean anything. I would put Parallax Hal Jordan probably around the level of like Anti-Monitor pre-Crisis. Hal Jordan, I always actually put Hal Jordan very close to his Parallax form, because I do feel like he got stronger since then, and I think he basically, like, has proven that he can scale to the likes of, like, Parallax host Sinestro, who's obviously going to be, like, a more, I guess, skilled version of Hal Jordan, just because he's, like, a better host for Parallax. Gore the God Butcher is getting destroyed, unfortunately for him. Even if you give him the Necrosword or whatever. Homelander is getting... See, I feel so weird putting, like, Goku in the same tier as Homelander. Like, it just doesn't feel right. But, it just the fact that they're all getting no diffed. Hulk depends on the incarnation, but probably have him lose in mid diff. We will talk about Toba Hulk later on, of course. Ichigo's getting clapped. Iron Man's clapped. Jiren destroyed. Juggernaut will just get. I guess technically he's. Oh no, he's really weak to magic, so there's no argument. Kaguya clapped. Kang clapped, unless I guess he goes back in time to kill Baby Thor, but never does that because Kang's weird, and also Thor is like the shaken multiverse is a baby even, so I don't really know. I guess it depends on how you view those time travel shenanigans, but that's not usually how I like to scale people. Destroyed. This is Ultimate Cars for those who aren't savvy. Destroyed. Null gives a bit more of a fight, but he's also getting clapped. Oh no, Kratos. Kratos is getting absolutely dogged. There's just no contest. I don't buy even like the outer reversal Kratos scaling, but even if you take his Kratos scaling, he's just not up there. His Yggdrasil is definitely not the same as Odin's Yggdrasil, just completely different entities. Gonna have a mid dift. Kirby is pretty ridiculous. If Kirby manages to swallow Thor, then it's game over. But I don't think I would have Kirby beating Thor. Kyle Rayner is getting clapped. Living Tribunal. Ooh. Living Tribunal is probably a step above. I'm going to rearrange this a little bit. Yeah, Living Tribunal is probably still beating that version of Thor. Though again, the whole I control the comic book is crazy, and Living Tribunal definitely doesn't do any of that shenanigans. Maybe I put it as a tie depending on how you view the whole comic book stuff. This just really goes to show how ridiculously strong this version of Thor is. No diff. Before I scaled this as normal Loki, but somebody in my comments pointed out I think this is God of Stories Loki as a picture. It's probably fitting to put him. I would actually put him as a tie. I think we don't really know yet which one of these two is stronger. I would actually be leaning to God of Stories Loki being stronger. I don't know if the banishing necessarily means that he's weaker than Thor. It just means that Thor is able to affect him in some way. Sorry, they are weaker than Thor. It just means that Thor is able to affect them in some way. Toon Force is overrated, especially in the case of Luffy. Magneto destroyed. Dr. Manhattan's overrated. Mephisto I'll put with Dormammu. Merum's destroyed. Guy doesn't stand a chance. Molecule Man is grossly overhyped, but he is a step above the likes of Doctor Doom. Mongol gets clapped. Naruto, Obito. Rune King Thor is who I think this picture is. This actually could just be Odin Force Thor. But I'm going to go with this being Rune King Thor. I actually don't think we could definitively put current Thor either above or below Rune King Thor. I'm inclined to think he might just be a little bit less powerful. Just because, all power versus rune magic. And rune magic is back to that narrative stuff, which is pretty crazy. So maybe I'll put Thor just a little bit below Thor. Sorry. Omni-Man's getting clapped. Popeye depends on exactly how you want to go about interpreting Toon Force. Does it just completely ignore durability? I'm not inclined to think so. That being said, Popeye is capable of, in his strongest form, wrangling stars and stuff. That doesn't put him as high as he needs to be. Changing my mind. If you're a big Toon Force proponent, I'm very happy to hear it. Punisher is, man, some of these poor these street level characters are really not getting done nicely on this tier list. May have to separate them into a separate tier list. Really sad to see Punisher just constantly getting thrown into these mismatches. I'm not even going to really dignify most of these with talk. I think that for the most part, you guys are going to understand the relative placement. Only reason I'm not putting this one lower is because, he is fast enough that you could probably evade attacks, but it doesn't really mean much. Rimuru from the light novel, I think has the same problem as Anos, where the answer is just it's too vague and we can't really say for sure because the scaling isn't quite there, but he's basically omnipotent in his verse, but that's only because his verse isn't that big. But at the same time, if Rimuru manages to absorb Thor, then Rimuru, I think has been shown to be able to absorb characters with comparable and higher levels of power than him. So if Thor, just for whatever reason, lets Rimuru eat him, then it might be cooked for Thor. But I guess for that win condition, I'll put Rimuru here. I think Rimuru's probably a step below Anos. Saber will throw up with Gilgamesh. You guys can figure that out for yourselves. Sailor Moon, strong, but not in this context. Saitama depends on how you view the whole gag thing, but based on feats in like his fight with Garo, I'm going to put him at a no diff. Sakura, no diff. Scarlet King, is that what it's called? Chaos King? No, Scarlet King. Scarlet King from SCP. That's one of those characters that people consider boundless. I don't really touch SCP scaling. I just take people's word for it. Scarlet Witch, even House of M Scarlet Witch isn't really doing much. We'll put her at mid diff. Her like reality manipulation is certainly no joke, but this guy is like the king of reality. So that's how it goes. Void Sentry. People like to say Void Sentry is as powerful as Molecule Man. It's just not true. Like that version of Molecule Man is a very inconsistent character. Sentry's a very inconsistent character. I guess like the most competent Sentry might be able to beat the least competent Molecule Man. They really scale off of their mental stability in any given moment. But I'm putting Sentry down here. That's not fair. Let's put him up here. Base Sentry can go down here, though. Sephiroth, I like getting no diffed. Shazam, no diffed. Shinra Bancho, again, shows reality manipulation, but not on the level that he would need to fight a king like Thor. Silver Surfer, the power of Cosmic is literally like absorbed into Thor in base at this point. Like he is so ridiculously strong. Spawn, again, depends on how you view creation, but I'm gonna put him down here. Same logic. Spectre is gonna be a. Spectre is. I actually my hot take is I scale base Spectre around pre-crisis anti-monitor levels. Sorry, whenever I say pre-crisis anti-monitor, I just mean crisis on Infinite Earths. But I put these guys at the same level. I think it's fair. And I think Spectre was trying to stop anti-monitor in that story, but he wasn't like fully capable of it. They kind of stalemate each other. I think anti-monitor kind of won that tussle. And the general, all we see Spectre do is get absolutely folded. So Spider-Man, Steel, Sun Wukong, depends on how you view the whole mythos, but like I guess people do hype up the Sun Wukong pretty hard. Superboy Prime, I think I would put around a little higher than these guys, maybe a little below Dr. Manhattan. Superman Prime when Millions getting smoked. Superman is probably giving him a high diff fight, but still losing, doesn't scale quite high enough. Maybe that means I have to rearrange some of this. No, it's fair. Swamp Thing, again, he has like some creation feats, but in base in general, he's not really stepping up to bat. Because like for someone like Thor, destroying all of the green, or even worse, like severing Swamp Thing's tie to the green, feels like a very viable thing he can do. Right? He has that reality manipulation. All he has to do is snap. Swamp Thing is no longer like an entity that's connected to the green, and then he just withers away and dies. You know. Thanos with Infinity Gauntlet. Where did I put Adam Warlock? Yeah. Thanos without Infinity Gauntlet is like a Thor, base Thor like match. So no. Toba Hulk is going to be yeah, that's fair. Trigon I put with the other Magic Boys until I figure out how to scale them. Ultra Ego Vegito doesn't matter. Whitebeard doesn't matter. Wolverine doesn't matter. Wonder Review loses to reality manipulation. Wonder Woman loses. Yamato loses. Woo. Sorry. Yamato loses. This one's not named Yamato. Yamcha. Yeah, my bad. Yami, My Glorious King loses. Yujiro loses. Yuha also loses. Zeno also loses. Zeus from Record of Ragnarok loses, and Zoro gets clapped. All right. There's definitely some problem here. A lot of these characters are never going to be higher than like a loses no diff based on these videos that I'm making. So maybe next time I'll pick like a nice medium tier character to do this list off of. But as you can see, not many characters are beating Thor at least in my books. So, if you disagree with this, please drop comments. Very happy to read them. Hop in our Discord. You can verbally berate me on call. We can have a little fun tussle. And, I really do look forward to it. I love talking to you guys about this kind of stuff. It really is just like a great way to pass the time. So appreciate you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope you guys have a good weekend.